The Brazilian Central Bank has decided to leave the short-term interest rate at 11% per year. It is in this level for 4 months. I'm Luciane Miranda, and this is São Paulo Direct by Dukascopy TV. And I'll talk now to Paulo Gala, strategist at Fator Corretora. Is it enough to curb inflation here in Brazil?
Nobody really knows, even the central bank. No, they have increased the rate from 7.25, which was very low. It was the lowest rate for Brazil in decades. And they have increased a lot, the rate to 11%. And now they have decided to stop for a few months to see if these hikes will be enough to curb inflation. In my opinion, it seems that they're having success. When you look at the last numbers of the inflation, the last inflation numbers, they show that inflation has been coming down. For example, in the last 2 months, the CPI is at 0.10, 0.20%, so almost zero. So it seems that the strategy of the central bank is working, and they should probably leave the rate for another 2 or 3 meetings and eventually bring the rate down in the future. There is a big question in Brazil of the so-called neutral rate of interest, or the equilibrium rate of interest, which is a rate that helps the country to grow without inflationary effects. But the fact of the matter is that nobody really knows what this rate is, especially if you think in terms of a real rate, because we have a nominal rate now of 11 and inflation is running around 6%, which means that the real interest rates now are at 5%. So there is a big debate in the country over what this real rate should be. I think that the rate should be probably lower. I don't think that we need real interest rates of 5% to control inflation in Brazil now, especially after this long credit cycle that we saw in the last 10 years, because the Brazilian families they're indebted now. I mean, companies, they have also increased their debt, so we're in a different situation now.
What about the consequences of this rate in the whole economy?
So that's the main point. I mean, after increasing the rate, what we see now is a recession in the country. So it's been a long time since we last had a recession. It was in 2008, 2009. So the so-called contractionary effects of higher rates are taking place. So we saw our GDP, a drop of the GDP of 0.6% in the last second quarter, which was below market estimates. And this shows that the effects of these interest rate hikes are strong, are powerful, especially now that we have a more leveraged economy. So I would say that the effects are working. I mean, the consumption is growing at a slower pace. Investments are falling. So the so-called classic credit channel is working in Brazil, with monetary policy being able to control prices through hikes.
What about the fixed income investments?
On the other hand, I mean, this scenario is good for fixed income, because Brazil is yet again a kind of an oasis in terms of interest rates in the world. I mean, when you look at Europe, when you look at Japan, even if you look at the US, long-term rates are at the 2.5% level. In Europe, if you look at, for example, the German bonds, they're below 1%. They're at 0.8, 0.9. So when you compare this to 11% per year, I mean, of course, there is country risk issues, but still, it's a huge difference. So Brazil is kind of the best place in the world to invest in terms of fixed income when you compare to other rates.
And what about the futures market involving interest rates, especially at bm&fbovespa?
Yeah, it's a huge market, because if you want to, I mean, there are all kinds of operations that you can do, but since we have a very high interest rate level, and we have a very liquid future market, we can use this market to do all sorts of structured operations, and so this is kind of good news to the future market, to interest rates future markets.
Paulo Gala, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Luciane Miranda to São Paulo Direct by Dukascopy TV.